Hey everybody, I want to just kind of have a little chat with you guys, and let me raise this up because I'm just now, no, it needs to actually go further down. No, I don't know. Let me figure this out. I gotta get used to putting my own face on this thing because from what I understand, you guys you like the videos that I put on YouTube, but of the garden and the animals, but you want to see my face. Oh my goodness. Okay, this is my face, and I just wanted to have a quick little chat with you guys and let you know that I do hope to be making a few more videos to go on the YouTube on a more regular basis. I've just had so much going on. You know, it takes time. If you're going to have a garden and you're going to have it productive, if you're going to have animals, it's just not always a convenient time to pull the tripod out, the camera out, and you got to have the mics, you got to have the lights, you got to, all the things. And for the most part, I am running wide open all day long. If I'm not on working with the animals, then I'm working with my real estate, and I know this is not a real estate page or YouTube channel, but it is what I do, and if I didn't do real estate, I couldn't have animals. And there have been so many changes. We actually feel like we're just kind of getting everything established, and I wish I could have had you guys come along on all the new things. I do try to update on my Instagram, and I'll post a picture here and there of things that are going on. But for the most part, I just don't have that much extra time to get everything going. Because you got to have everything charged. And I guess with my ADHD, I have good intentions to have everything set up in a charging station, but that hadn't happened because that's not the most pressing thing at any given moment. Having to go show properties and, do all the paperwork that goes with that and get to the closings and take care of the animals and the garden in between all of that. That is what is so pressing as far as what's in my mind and what I have to keep organized just to get by. So I try to keep things together. I try to be intentional with keeping my calendar and making sure, I got everything spaced within my brain to allow myself the ability to keep it all organized. But it's a struggle. It truly is a struggle when you have ADHD, because I think I can get so many projects done before I have to stop one and go start another and get out the door and get in my car and get to where I need to go. That might be easy for some people, but it's not for me, because the minute I think, well, I might have enough time to do another thing because it's important, that I get that another thing done. And it's overwhelming at times. But I do want to keep, I guess, a video history from day to day, month to month, year to year, because it's good for me to look back and go, wow, it may not seem like I've gotten a lot done, but we have. It just takes time to get everything established. But one thing I wanted to talk to you guys about, and I've noticed in the last few months with watching when I have time, because if I'm doing paperwork on the computer, I might have my TV on. As you can see right now, it's on, but nothing's playing. But I like to catch up on my favorite YouTubers myself, just to see what's going on and what's different. Is there something new that they're doing that might help me? But if nothing else, at least I'm giving them some watch time, even though I'm doing other things. So I think that's important too, because if I'm really zoned in on my favorite YouTubers, it's not fair to me to not give them the watch time that they deserve, because they're in front of the cameras, they're setting up their charging stations and keeping everything organized. They've got the calendar, and they're making sure that content gets put out on a regular basis. So if they're doing all that, it's with my extra ear to, oh, I wish I had an extra ear, but I don't. But you know what I mean. It's worth it to me to be loyal to their channels. But I have noticed that some of my YouTubers that I just love catching up on, they're not putting out as much content either. So I'm thinking either, they just are like me. They don't have enough time to do the camera, to do the recording, to do the editing, to do the loading of the material. But I have noticed a decline in, one, the number of new content creators coming on board. I've noticed a decline in my favorite YouTubers. I like to look and see, well, how many likes do they have? How many how many times have their videos been watched? And I've noticed that that's been declining as well. So are people getting less interested in the homestead, the cooking, the growing, the animals? Or is it maybe people with the increased inflation, people are having to work 2 jobs like some of the rest of us, and they just don't have any time to watch? So I think a lot of change is going on, and I don't know how that's going to affect some of my favorite YouTubers I love to keep up with, because they may actually have to do what I'm doing, get a second job, because the income that they were getting from YouTube, which is never a guarantee for anybody, any of the affiliations, some of those businesses can go out of business. And if people are getting less interested in homesteading, some of the affiliations that some YouTubers are promoting, where they get kickback money from, which is usually not a lot, but it does help. A lot of those companies aren't getting the feedback from the general public of, what are you interested in? What do you need on the homestead? So if people are waning in their interest on that, or they've just given up hope on, well, are we going to ever be able to have a homestead? Are we going to be able to financially become stable at home so that we can provide for our family on a full-time basis? They're like, we it's just not going to happen right now. We've got to work to get an income, and outside the farm or outside the homestead. And guys, I lived through that. I remember, back in the years when I was farming full time, and when we first started out, had the farm, and it became necessary for both of us, my ex-husband and I, to work. Then outside of the farm, those farm chores still had to be done, but we had to bring income into our house. The farm was basically the income it was generating was paying for the farm, and that was very important. Would we both have loved to just be at home? Yes. It did, after, I would say, 7 to 10 years, get to the point where one of us could stay at home and do all the farm chores and do all the homeschooling and take care of general life. And then as time went on, the farm got paid for, and then multiple people could stay on the farm, and it was generating income. Not on its own, it had to be worked. So that was a different time of my life. So I know the struggle of, some of these people who saw, the homesteaders on YouTube, and they were like, oh, that's the life I want. Let me go for it. And they went into debt. They bought property. They built a house, or, got a mobile home. And then they have that debt, and they were getting income from the YouTube and all the other affiliations that they had to bring income into the family. But they are getting to the point now, some of that income has dropped. So one or both of those family wage earners are having to go outside of the homestead. So they have to restructure and go, can we do this? Well, from experience, yes, you can, but it's going to take a lot of sacrifice. And what a lot of those people are going to have to realize is they're going to have to make a decision. Is it worth it for the long term? It's not going to be worth it for right now. Do you dig deep? Do you stay in it until everybody can come back home and the farm is generating income? What I would say, one of the biggest things that we did, because when we first started out, we were raising row crops. And a lot of those row crops would go, to market. Well, there's a whole process about that. You got to plant it, you got to take care of it, you got to harvest it, and then you have to actually get it to the market, and a big enough market to where you might meet somebody who would come and pick up the row crops at your property, if you had enough. But even with all of that and working so hard, it came to a point with us that we realized we were going to have to diversify. And that was a big key term, diversification. When we would go to, and back then you didn't have webinars, it was seminars. You actually had to go to all of the farm, not instructors, what am I trying to say? You would have to go to the farm shows and go to individual classes where they were teaching people how to diversify, because they knew that's what farmers need. If you're going to keep the farm, you've got to diversify, or you're going to lose it because the bank will take it. So in all of that and doing a lot of research, because by that point you could access internet at home. And so there was a lot of research going on, and there was a lot of talk among farmers. How are we going to make it through this time? And for our area, one of the biggest things that people could do to ensure to have enough money, not to live on, but enough money that would make the farm payments, you would also have to go double in debt and purchase, but go into a contract with the poultry industry, and you could get farm loans to build turkey farms or chicken houses, but in this area, that was the only hope going at that time. And so we opted to build turkey houses, and went into business with a company in our area that was up and coming and had, a good plan for farmers that agreed to tie up, and you have to tie up a good bit of your property to build turkey barns, because you got to have enough barrier between you and your neighbors. We were fortunate. We owned, or were buying, over 250 acres, and that worked. So it worked into the plan. We got the barns built. Our kids were young, and we were younger, and we had a promise. Well, I have always been the kind of person that if I make a commitment to do something, then that's a commitment that I do until it's done. And it was not easy raising small kids and working as a side job, and at about halfway into the 10 years that you have to finance these farms with, I had to come home, no income on my end. I was basically putting time in to be able to have that future of getting not only those barns paid for, but the final land paid for. And I was just committed. I didn't care how hard I had to work every day, And I promise you, working in turkey barns, and 8 of them, and they were the grow out, they were not the little babies. They were babies when we got them, but we kept them for about 15, 16 weeks, and by the time they were ready to go to market, they were pretty big. And most people don't understand, when you work and you walk turkey barns, the purpose to walk them is to check the equipment, the waterers, the feeders, and all of that, the curtains, the fans, the misters, all of that had to be in good working order. But the big job of the day would be to walk the barns up and down, up and down, up and down, looking for turkeys that had passed away. And you would have to pick those up, carry them to a side door or a back door or a front door, and put them outside the building. And then later, when you're through walking the barns, then you would go around with the tractor, pick them up, and dispose of them. So that was never an easy job, because and you never knew what you were going to walk into whenever you got into the barns, because it could be you know, an easy day in one barn, and then the next barn you're going in and you've got a huge water spill, and you got to get that cleaned up. Or you might have a huge feed spill, and by huge I mean taller than your head when you stand up, and then wider than you if you were to lie down, probably 2 or 3 times. It could be that big, and you would have to you know, get that up. So not an easy job, but when you commit to something like that and you can see the end result is, well, the bank's not going to be able to take our farm, and our kids are going to have that future. That's how it was supposed to work out. It didn't work out that way, but the farm never did get taken by the bank, and it got paid for. And all I'll say on that note is I'm no longer there. But long story short, what I'm saying here is, if you're going to homestead through hard times, you may have to step outside the box of how you want it to end. It may not be that you're there right now, but don't give up. If a homestead is what you want, if you want to be able to turn a profit so that you, or both of you, husband and wife, family, can be sustainable and live from what you get from that farm, then it's going to take a lot of hard work, and it's going to take several years. It's not something that happens overnight. And you just have to get your mindset on the end result. And along the way, you have to make sure that you maintain your family wholeness. From experience, let me tell you that. So, just want to speak to you now and say, do the hard work, because there's going to come a day when you and your family will reap not just the harvest of what you plant, but the harvest of the longevity of your commitment and hard work. With me, where I'm at now, I have had a restart, and it is an amazing restart. It's nothing negative. It is a new beginning. My husband and I, Kevin, I bought this place before we met, and then later we met, we got married, and we are trying to work toward a new end, not just the end of life, but we see where we're going. And it takes a lot of time. It takes a lot of effort. We have to work separate jobs and do little by little until it will get to the point where, you know, one of us won't have to work outside so very hard to bring and generate income to make things work toward what we have coming. And right now, that is where our focus is. And if I can help anybody, if you're starting out and you don't know where to start, reach out to me, because what I learned growing up, I am using now. And I'm 58. We were a family of 7. I had 4 siblings, mom and dad, and we lived on just under 10 acres. And it wasn't a flat 10 acres. It was hilly. There were inclines, but there were places where there were flat areas. And my dad and mom cleared those flat areas. And on all of those flat areas, in just probably usable, I would say at the most 4 acres, generated enough food for our winters, because we ate from the garden during the spring and summer. Now, we did have fall and winter crops that we were able to eat from. But the majority of it was we grew in the spring and summer and fall and put that away for the winter. And we did have, animals that we processed. And, those types of things are what people are doing now. When I got married, I saw more people interested in if they were going to farm, they wanted lots of land, and they wanted to do the row crops, or they wanted to get poultry or chickens, and on a huge scale. That was the dream. But not so much now, because it is a 30 plus year commitment to get to ownership, full ownership. Because during that process, you're not just paying for land, you're having to buy equipment, and you're having, you get that balance down, then something happens, you got to buy another piece of equipment, and then you need another piece of equipment to do something else. And you're just constantly in debt, in debt, in debt. But if your goal is to be at home and to work maybe remotely, then you can do it on about 4 acres. I promise you can. But you may have a little bit bigger goal than that. Like, my goal right now is to get around 10 acres. That would be my goal right now. Is that going to happen tomorrow? Probably not, because I'm still working to build things up here. We don't have all of our infrastructures right now. We have some, but we do have enough animals. I have enough milk for my dairy goats. We eat from the garden. I did put up some peaches this year. I'm going to put up some, a few other things. But we are slowly building our homestead here, so that if that future opportunity opens up, then we can push forward with it and go to, to the extreme we want to go to. Kevin and I will have been married 3 years in December, and I started maybe 2 years before he came into my life. And I like to have small goals and work toward the larger goal. It's what worked my whole life. And I saw my daddy do it. I saw my mama do it. And I saw all those years that I did it. And now I'm okay with that. I don't have to do content that's perfect. I don't have to do content on a mainstream, because in reality, we're not promised to have enough, subscribers to even get monetized. But I do want to share what I have learned in my lifetime. And I'll do that sporadically for now, because I am not doing this full time. But there are things that I have experienced in my life that I think will help other people, especially to be able to encourage a lot of you that are getting discouraged. But if you're, don't consider yourself a failure if you have had to stop homesteading for right now to make ends meet. That is not a failure. That is survival at its best, because you can diversify, you can change lanes for a minute to obtain what your real goal is. But you really do have to sit down with, you and your spouse and reevaluate, is this what we want? And if it is, then you do what you have to do, but do not consider yourself a failure, because you're not. And this is my talk for today. And do I like to talk? Yeah, I do like to talk. But I do, for the most part, want to be an encouragement to other people. And if just sitting here giving you a little talk, if that's all I can do right now, that I think it's important right now. I'm feeling that people are falling away because of circumstance, or they're losing hope. I don't want you to lose hope, but don't consider yourself a failure. Hold on to what you have already started. Even if you can't finish it right now, just put it on hold. Like, hold on. and try that, divert that little to the right lane or to the left lane, and do what you have to do for your family for now. But don't lose hope on your ultimate goal. Because I think that if God puts a goal in your life, He knows the future, and He knows what you're going to need. He didn't change His mind if He put the desire in your heart to have a homestead and to be able to survive and to be able to, grow things that are good for your family. He didn't put that desire in your heart just to have it ripped away. But along the way, because of what happens in the world, you might have to put things on hold for a minute and just be patient and wait on His timing. But in the meantime, you're going to have to go, we have to live by the sweat of our brow. We have to be able to do what it takes to get by, because I know just for two people what groceries cost in the grocery store, because there are things we have to buy in the grocery store. We don't grow everything we eat. I think we can get by on the minimum, because I'm frugal. My husband's frugal. So, don't give up. Keep going. Make the immediate changes you have to make, but do not give up on homesteading unless you're just absolutely sick of it and you don't want to do it anymore. Then don't do it. Find what it is that makes your life happy, the life of your family happy, because that is vitally important. Don't spend years in unhappiness doing something you don't like to do because it looks good on the outside. And I promise, that's my talk for today. God bless you all, and I hope you have a great day.